So let's create another file here. So Command N, this is going to be Touch class. Click next. We need a XIB file and a UICollectionViewCell subclass. And this I'm going to call infoCollectionViewCell. So click next, click create. And again, we have two files. We're going to switch to our XIB first. And this is gonna be an 80 on 100. No, it's gonna be 80 on 80 size. So let's change this. And then we need a label and an image view. So since we have this image view, I'm gonna drag it here. Let me get the sizes for us. This is gonna be a 30 on 30 points. And the X, I'm going to set it to 25. And the Y is gonna be 45. All right, and let's also set our auto layout constraints for this. So I'm going to make the width and height standard, and I'm going to set the bottom to be 5 points. This will get red auto layout constraints because these constraints are not enough for our view to understand where it should be on a runtime. So if we select on the other button here for aligning, I want to align these horizontally in my view, so it's exactly in the middle, and I click enter. Now we know where it should be on a runtime. Then we need a label, and we want one on top, and let's change the color to be white. The font I'm going to keep 17. Let's go to custom and we choose Gil Sans. Let me just double check if I have the font size correct to be 17. Yes. So what we're going to do now is to set the auto layout constraints for my label. This is gonna be 0x, y will be 5 points, so we have margin from top. Width is going to be 80 points, so it's stretching all the way. And we are going to set the text to be aligned in the middle. And also let's add our auto layout constraints, so we'll be left and right 0 points and 5 points from the top. Click add, and now we need another label at the bottom because remember, one of our views here doesn't have an image, so we want to use this label. So whenever it doesn't have an image, we will hide our image view and show this label. So if I copy and paste this one, let's drag it down, and I'm going to set this, let's go here, the X is 0, Y is 55, width and height are 20. So let's just set our auto layout constraints. I want it to be left and right to be 0 points and bottom 5 points. Hit enter, and we have all our blue guidelines ready for us. So we have all the user interface we need. Now I can select my file here, which is controlling the specific view, so that we can do our connections. So if I option click on my file here, I will be able to do my connections. Since I have overlapping views, I will use the left panel here to select my items, which will be easier for me to do my connections. So I'm going to put a mark here, call this IB outlets. And now we can do our connection. So I need the info label, which is the top one. Then I want to connect the bottom label, which is a name label, because we want to give the name of our the current item we are showing. So we call this name label. And we have this image view. Let's drag. control drag, and this is gonna be info image view. All right, and we can close our assistant editor. We have our 3 labels here, 2 labels and 1 image view, and we have also awake from nib, which we are not going to touch, but instead I'm going to create a function like we did earlier with our forecast collection view. So I'm going to say func generate cell. So here we need to pass something to our generate cell function. So it can take it and populate all these 2 labels and then image view. But right now we don't have anything handy to do that. So I'm going to keep nothing here so our Xcode doesn't complain. So what we want to do is to create some kind of class or a struct that will have this specific information. So whenever we need to create one, we can create these little objects. This will be our struct, which will have all this information, and we can pass this struct to our cell, so it will generate cell. So imagine like we have our weather, we will have our specific type for our weather information here, so we can display a name and we can display our image there. So let's actually click on extensions, Command N. It's gonna be a Swift file, and I'm going to call this weather info. Let's create, and our weather info will be a struct. Structs are like classes, they are like blueprints of objects, but there are some difference between structs and classes, which you can get more in Apple documentation. What's the main difference here? Our class scope doesn't cover this area, but we're going to use the struct for this one because it's much simpler than the class, and we don't need the class functionality for it. So I'm going to call this weather info, and we're going to have a variable which is info text. It's a string, and this is not an optional because this top part is always available. So no matter what type of weather information we are displaying, this part is always available. And we have a var name text, and this can be a string but optional. The reason it's optional is because only one, currently in my user interface design, only one of the objects will be using the name instead of an image. And of course we need an image, and this is gonna be a UI image. Again, we need to import our UI kit so we have access to UI image. And it's an optional, again, for the same reason, because not all our weather infos will have an image. One of them will have a name only. So this is it. This is all we need to have our struct. So now we can use this struct to provide information to our cell here. So I'm going to call this weather info. And it's gonna be type of weather info. So we can provide it here, and this will take our info label.text, and this is gonna be equal to our weather info.info text. Then we are going to say info label.adjust font size to fit width. And this is going to be set to true because we want, in case if the weather info is quite big and our screen size is small, we want to adjust this to make the text size smaller so it will not be cut out, right? And then we are going to, because these two are optionals, we may have them or we may not have them, we need to check if our weather info that we are passing has an image or no. So we say if weather info dot image is not equals to nil, so it means we do have an image, and then we have an else statement, and this case say no image, so it means we need a name here. So in the first case we have an image, so we say name label dot is hidden equals to true, because when we have an image we don't want to show the name label which is in our XIB design here. All right, and then we want to say info image view is hidden parameter to equals to false, because in case if it was hidden we want to unhide it so we can show our image. And then we say info image view dot image, and we want to set the image parameter, and this is going to be equal to our weather info dot image. Okay, this is in case if we have an image. Otherwise, if we have no image, what we want to say is name label dot is hidden equals to false, because we want to unhide the name. Since we have no image, we want to show the name, and then we want to hide our image view. So I'm going to say image view is hidden equals to true. So we hide our image view. Then I want to say name label dot adjust font to fit the width equals to true. So again we are going to adjust the font if it's required. And finally we need to say name label dot text is equals to our weather info dot name text. So this function will take care of our generating our cell. So we just need to provide this weather info, which we will create at later stage, so we can provide our cell with this information. So right now we have designed already the top part, the bottom part, and we will move on to our table view cell design, and then we can start implementing all this into our user interface.